The 2024 edition of the Euros will arguably go down as one of the most boring tournaments in football history, and as far as the competition's history is concerned. Welcome back to the Football Tribe YouTube channel. Robert Kesakos is my name. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a wonderful start to the week. Now, if you had told somebody that football was the most entertaining sport there is to watch in the world of sports, and you sent them to the Euro 2024 edition of that competition to watch and also get to witness this so-called game of sport that you're talking about, then they would perhaps call you delusional, or they would question your sense of judgment, because clearly this has been far from an entertaining edition of the Euros. In comparison to most recent competitions that we've watched, starting with the January Africa Cup of Nations, that's the 2023 edition that Ivory Coast did win, rewinding things back to the FIFA World Cup in 2022 in Qatar, and then taking it slightly back to the Euro 2020 that was played in 2021 due to COVID. So clearly, when you compare those three competitions to this particular Euros that have been played in Germany, clearly there's only one that comes out at the bottom, and it is the Euro 2024. We've had a scarcity of goals, in my opinion. They've not come in plenty as we would have hoped them to come. We've had a lack of individual brilliancy for most of the stars that we had hoped would give us in showpiece. The likes of Phil Foden, the likes of Kylian Mbappe, the likes of Jude Bellingham, the likes of Kane, and many others out there. They've been literally a shadow of the players that we've come to know of them in the last couple of years. If it had not been for Spain, with their Nico Williams, with their Olmo and Lodris, among other players, you'd again wonder if this was really an international competition for the caliber of the Euros. Because, like I've mentioned on this channel before, it is Spain, Germany, Austria, and Netherlands, as well as Switzerland, that have given us the bit of entertainment that we thought we deserved for this particular competition. And with those now out of the tournament, still, because we had Austria exiting at the round of 16, we had Germany be knocked out by Spain, contrary to my prediction for the quarterfinals. Never mind that. Then we had Switzerland be knocked out by England. Now, England has been like that old lion that went out to hunt, and it's trying to run after, gazelles. Of course, it cannot outpace them. I mean, they've just crawled their way through the competition. Same for France. Now, one would say these are sleeping giants. I wouldn't call England a sleeping giant. I mean, they've never won this competition before. And whereas their last attempt got them to the finals, they still lost to Italy on penalties. But somehow, the Queen, may her soul rest in peace, it feels like that her luck still reigns within the lands of England, because somehow they are in the semi-finals. If you ask somebody how they got here, it would be a bit of a hard one to explain. But well, they are here. But overall for me, as far as the competition goes, it's been boring. It's been far from entertaining. We've only had a couple of games that have been really top-notch that you would have recommended for anybody to watch. You remember at the round of 16, we had Turkey against Austria, very entertaining game. We had Netherlands against Romania there, very entertaining game that anybody would have loved to watch. Of course, we did see Spain against Georgia, very entertaining game. Even Spain-Germany at the quarterfinals was a very entertaining game. But the same could not be said for that between England versus Switzerland. Not in my opinion. It was that average game. And when it came to the tie between France and Portugal, you could literally go to bed and wake up, and there was still nothing to record or to show for that 120 minutes of that game. That's how boring it has been. Well, is it down to the managers? Is it down to the players? Maybe everyone is to blame, but I wouldn't be quick to judge those players so much. Why? Because in the last couple of years, or in the last 4 years particularly, they've played a lot of football. Lots and lots of football. Of course, by the likes of Lamine Yamal, who are, very new and youngsters, 16 years old, the other goalers of Turkey, those kinds of players, the likes of Riccardo Calafiori, who was very incredible for Italy, those kinds of things. When you look at this scope of players, whether they were at the most recent edition before this one, that's back in 2021 or not, overall, for club and country, over the scope of the last 4 years, they played plenty of football. Of course, we had football breaks due to COVID, and once those football breaks were lifted, football kick-started, and it has literally never stopped. Players played the 2020 season and completed, which was 2019-2020 season, completed that, went into 2020-2021, completed that, went into the Euros, came back for the 2022 season, 2023. In there, they had to go for the FIFA World Cup that, kicked off, I think, during November. That was in Qatar. It had to be played, midway of the season because of the weather conditions. They played that, came back and completed their seasons. On the side of Africa, we had, our own competition. That's the Africa Cup of Nations at the start of this year. You're done with that. And then you have the Euros 2024. In between there, you've had qualifiers, you've had the Nations League, and all those kinds of things. Down in South America, it never slowed down because where Brazil were just recently knocked out, overall, both tournaments have not given us the quality of football that we thought we deserve. But then again, like I'm saying, you cannot blame these players so much because they played plenty of football. Players like Rodri have come out to sort of criticize, in a way, the number of games they're having to play a season, because a player will play about 60 games across different competitions within their respective leagues. Let's consider the topmost leagues. Let's say you're playing in Spanish La Liga, the Premier League, French League One, or Italian Serie A, or German Bundesliga. Then you have domestic competitions, you have the European competitions, and overall, at the end of the calendar year, you're playing about 60 to 70 games, depending on whether you're featuring on the national team and that kind of thing. So it does take a toll on you, and you got to feel pity for some of these players, the likes of Bukayo Saka, who have been sort of regular players for those last couple of years, the likes of Phil Foden. Some may not show any signs of slowing down in a way, but clearly this edition, this competition of the Euro 2024 should be evidence enough that players, in many cases, to me, they've looked sort of not disinterested, but you've seen the weight of the competition on their shoulders. So it wasn't due to a lack of interest, but clearly most of those legs are tired. So the enthusiasm with which they play, the effort they've had to put in has felt lacking. Not out of willingness, but out of circumstance. But anyway, it is what it is. The Euros do continue tomorrow with the semi-finals. Of course, I did make my predictions for the quarterfinals. I got two right and got two wrong. I hoped that Germany would get past Spain, but of course, Spain were a better team. They have so far been the best team in this competition, and I do hope that they go ahead to win it. It would be very painful and an injustice to football if any team other than Spain or Netherlands went to win it, because England and France have not played any sort of football that has convinced us, especially the neutral fans, that they are deserving of lifting that title. But anyway, whoever deserves to win it will eventually win it. But if I were to pick in terms of who I wish for, it would be Spain, because they've been good. They've been really incredible. Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams, Rodri, Olmo, they've been really, really good. A good bunch of players to feature for this tournament. So, like I said, Germany lost out, the hosts, to Spain. That's 2-1 victory for Spain. Of course, we had England nick Switzerland in a penalty shootout, Bukayo Saka being the star man of that particular game. I mean, again, it clearly showed you that it wasn't a team with a lack of stars, but a team that didn't play as though they had all the stars that they did have on the pitch. So, but anyway, Switzerland knocked out. Then France against Portugal. Of course, France had managed to advance. That's what I had predicted. And then in the other game between Netherlands and Turkey, Netherlands managed to make it. And as we speak, the semi-final lineup will be between Spain versus France. That's on Tuesday at 10 p.m. East African time. And then on Wednesday, England will be up against Netherlands to decide the two sides that will then meet on Sunday in the finals of the Euros edition of 2024 in Germany. Anyway, keep your eyes peeled there for those that are following those developments from the Euros 2024 keenly. But we do hope that the semi-finals do have much more to offer to us than what we've observed in, all the other stages of the Euro editions, where you get one entertaining game and then three other boring games. That kind of sense. It's just two games. You'd hope that. Now, France, very good team defensively, but going forward, they've not really looked sharp at all. I'm not sure they've scored a goal in open play, because even that goal against Belgium was an own goal. So that's what defines France. England is a team that has never won it. So, I mean, the last time they made the attempt, of course, they reached the finals, but they didn't win it. They did lose to Italy on penalties. Those penalty shootouts that got Marcus Rashford, I think Jordan Sancho and Bukayo Saka, dragged in the mud and faced with all sorts of abuses, both deserved and undeserved, but mostly undeserved, some of which were racist, so to speak. And then, so England has never won it, so clearly they do not have pedigree for this competition that we can speak of. France, I do not remember the last time they won it, because the last previous champions are Italy. We went back to 2016, that was Portugal. When you went back to 2012, it was Spain. To 2008, Spain. And I think 2004 was Greece. So anyway, whichever the case that is for those particulars, but I do think Spain come into this game with the advantage. They've looked the much better side, but we all know that knockout games can go either way. You never know. You could have surprises. Whereas Spain have been good offensively, France have compensated for their lack of offensive prowess with, defensive dominancy. William Saliba and Upamecano, as well as Theo Hernandez, have been really, really brilliant in that backline for France, for Didier Deschamps' side. And then the other tie between England and Netherlands, I think Netherlands have had the better competition in comparison to England, but either way, they are both at the same stage in the competition. So England is at the semi-finals, and when you look over your shoulder, you're wondering, how did England get here? Well, they are here, and perhaps, maybe they are here to stay, because they're still riding on their luck. They'll meet a very entertaining Netherlands side. Denzel Dumfries, really like him in that back line. Nathan Ake, of course, I thought he's had a good tournament so far. When you look at Cody Gakpo, he's been very brilliant. Xavi Simons has had some flashes, but not so brilliant, but I thought he's been fairly decent. Then Memphis Depay, Ronald Koeman will be looking to these players to try and put England to bed. But we'll wait to see how everything spans out at the semi-finals of the Euros. That game between England and Netherlands will also come on Wednesday at 10 p.m. East African time. Moving away from the boring Euros, and just to dive into a bit of transfers, Manchester United are closing in on a double signing for Joshua Zirkzee, that is the forward from Bologna, and the defender in Matthias de Ligt from Bayern Munich. I do understand, according to reports, that those talks between Manchester United and the other clubs are quite advancing well. Of course, they do have the green light from the players' camps. That's for Joshua Zirkzee as well as Matthias de Ligt. It is reported that they do have an agreement in principle with Joshua Zirkzee on a contract or contract terms, as well as Matthias de Ligt. So it is up to the two clubs to agree with Manchester United on the transfer fees and get the business done. And significant steps could be really made this week to try and close those deals as soon as possible. But also, still speaking Manchester United, there are potential exits from the Red Devils camp there, with Mason Greenwood, who is destined for Olympic Marseille. It is reported that they would consider loaning him out to Olympic Marseille as long as there is an obligation to buy for a reasonable fee. Remember, he did spend the last campaign at Getafe in Spain, where I thought he was quite brilliant, given the circumstances that he was recovering from, to return to football. Very, very decent player. Then the other report is that Jadon Sancho is also up on the market for his exit from Manchester United, and it is reported that Juventus are interested. Of course, Dortmund would be very, very interested, but it is reported that they cannot afford his asking a price tag of about £40 million that Manchester United are asking for to catch their losses and move on from Jadon Sancho. So it is reported that Thiago Motta at Juventus is interested in Jadon Sancho, but even before his arrival to Juventus already held some level of interest in Jadon Sancho. So, however, that deal for any potential deal between Manchester United and Juventus for Jadon Sancho is dependent on Juventus's letting go of Federico Chiesa. With a year left to his contract, they are very, very willing to let him go for what doesn't sound to be a very, very big transfer fee, because according to the reports I've had, somewhere between 17 to 20 million euros could get the job done for that transfer. Now, I do not know why teams or big teams are not, jumping to this. I'm surprised Chelsea is not jumping at this. I mean, they keep jumping on every player. You wouldn't be surprised if you heard that they've signed Uganda's Isaac Mureme or Derek Ndahiro. But anyway, it's still quite a surprise for me that Federico Chiesa has been put on the market and clubs are not clamoring for his signature. I do think he's a very, very decent player, very, very brilliant winger there that could arguably fit in any team that he may join. And then away from things Manchester United and Juventus, Barcelona president Joan Laporta has expressed that they have the potential financially to sign their long-term target in Nico Williams. We do understand that Barcelona have serious interest in Nico Williams, but according to reports from Spain, that is largely dependent on Hans Flick. If he does personally appreciate the player well enough, he has been one of those shining stars at these Euros that have, to a larger extent, been boring, in my opinion. He's been one of those shooting stars that you could identify in the tournament. Very, very brilliant youngster there, 21 years of age at Atletico Bilbao. So, however, Barcelona will have to face competition from the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, as well as Liverpool, all who are interested in signing the Spanish international. But the advantage for Barcelona is that those reports also go ahead to suggest that he would be much more interested in staying in Spain as opposed to leaving the country to ply his trade elsewhere. And Barcelona is one of his priority clubs. I mean, that gives them the advantage. So as soon as Hansi Flick gives the green light, then Barcelona can try to approach Atletico Bilbao to try and make a deal. However, it may not be that simple, because Barcelona will need to sell some players for them to be able to afford Nico Williams. And according to reports from Spain, those they are looking to put on the market is Rafinha. Now, Rafinha is a player that was just signed recently by Barcelona. So again, begs a question of, Barcelona's overall stability in terms of the players they sign and how they let them go. Not just too far back, they signed Adama Traore. Very surprising for me. They signed him from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Didn't last long there. They let him go. They did sign Ferran Torres from Manchester City. Although he's still with them, he's not featured for them that much. He's not been a pivotal player. They went on to sign João Felix on loan from Atletico Madrid. Again, they've opted out of that deal, not to retain him. So it feels that they're gambling on a great deal of many things as far as their transfers are concerned. So, but anyway, that's what the report suggests, that they are putting Rafinha on the market for about 40 to 45 million pounds for them to secure some funds that they can use to finance the Nico Williams deal. Arsenal and Chelsea were interested in Rafinha. The 27-year-old Brazilian was of interest to both London clubs before he joined Barcelona. Of course, Chelsea were leading in that race, were the ones more desperate to sign him. Are they still interested? I'm not too sure, but according to the Evening Standard, they do report that Arsenal have inquired about Rafinha. We'll wait to hear more on what comes from that side as far as those transfer reports are concerned. Still speaking matters transfers, Arsenal are interested in Wolves goalkeeper Danny Bentley. The 30-year-old is a wanted man at Arsenal. Now remember, Arsenal have just signed a goalkeeper in David Raya, who was on loan at the Gunners last season, but because that deal has an obligation to buy or a clause to buy for 27 million pounds, they did activate that, and his David Raya is now an Arsenal man. But looks like Arsenal want to go shopping for another goalkeeper, and Wolverhampton's Danny Bentley is on their targets, and according to David Ornstein, they've inquired about the goalkeeper. Now, of course, this comes in the wake of not just reports, but a long-held public secret that Aaron Ramsdale will want to seek greener pastures away from the Emirates Stadium, having fallen out of the pecking order as far as number one choice goalkeeping at Arsenal is concerned. So maybe waiting to get a club as soon as the Euros end. So perhaps Arsenal are planning for that eventuality. For me, as far as number twos go, it is a huge drop-off when you're losing Aaron Ramsdale for a goalkeeper like Danny Bentley. But anyway, it is also equally hard to keep two, good goalkeepers happy. That conversation we've had almost throughout the season. That's the kind of position that Arsenal do find themselves in. Eventually, they may have to sell Aaron Ramsdale. But there's another Arsenal goalkeeper in the names of Carl Hayne, who signed his contract with the Gunners, but according to reports, he may be sent out on loan. But if he's to be sent out on loan, that would mean that Arsenal may require to sign a third goalkeeper. Well, what kind of position would these Gunners or Mikel Arteta be putting inside into? First of all, it will be a reduction in quality as far as that goes. But again, perhaps it depends on which goalkeeper you get at the end of the day to fit in that mold for at least 1 year as you wait for Carl Hayne to wherever you may send him for more regular football to come back and see where his future lies, whether his future really lies with the Emirates Stadium. Anyways, that's the basis of it all. That's some of the key news from the transfer world. Those are my comments from the Euro 2024. Do let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you next time. Otherwise, do not forget to kindly subscribe to the channel so that we can continue to grow. Do not forget to like, comment, and share, and I'll see you next time. Stay blessed.